Okay, let's see who's going to show up today and talk about fear, right? That's a big hot topic for today. Let me see if I can move my little background around, make it work for me. Here we go. Guess that's a little better. Okay, hello Instagram, hello TikTok, hello YouTube. I wanted to come on tonight. Hi everyone. I don't know if I'm going to do many questions right now. So just hold on, you guys, if you have any questions about higher self-hypnosis or fear or anything like that, because I kind of wanted to just talk about fear because just like everyone, I found myself kind of getting into this fear mode. You know, you go, even on TikTok, you go in and you look at things about, the dollar crashing and, inflation, hyperinflation, all these things. Hello, Anetta. How are you? Hi there. And so you hear all this and it can just really strike fear in your heart. So I went to my higher self and my spirit team and I was like, okay, I got to get out of this. I don't like being in this fear. I don't want to be in this fear. It just feels yucky. It feels gross. It's not fun. Like it makes me not even want to be on this planet right now. I mean, I know you guys can relate to that, right? You're just like, just let me get out of here. And then I found I'm in the middle of a 10-day advanced theta healing class. If you guys haven't ever heard of theta healing, it is an incredible healing modality. I actually teach it. This is an advanced class. I don't teach the advanced ones. I teach the first 4, which are prerequisites for the more advanced ones. But this one is like medical mediumship type stuff, learning that and learning all about sickness and disease. And what we're doing in this class is clearing any beliefs that we, the practitioner, hold about certain diseases and sicknesses. So not to get off track here, but I just wanted to explain that so I made a TikTok about this the other day. I had a fear of, I muscle tested myself and discovered that I had a fear of lymphoma because I had heard a lot in this lifetime, oh, if cancer gets in your lymph nodes, you're a goner, that type of thing. And then I also had the same kind of fear around ovarian and cervical cancer because in my previous work as a court reporter, I had come across instances where people had died from it because they were then suing the doctors. And I was the court reporter for the case, suing doctors for not having discovered it in the person, and they should have discovered it in the person, and now the person's dead and their family's suing the doctor. So I got to learn a lot about that and how quote unquote deadly cervical and ovarian cancer can be. And so I had these beliefs that I was holding in my body from this lifetime about cervical, ovarian cancer and lymphoma. And so this class that I'm taking, it's called Disease and Disorder, is all about uncovering those types of things. Thank you for the hearts, you guys, on TikTok, by the way. Thank you. It's about uncovering those types of things so that me, when I'm dealing with my clients, when I'm doing higher self-hypnosis sessions, when we're channeling, thank you so much for the roses. When we're doing healing and bringing your higher self in, if I'm doing a theta healing session on you, so my beliefs don't come in and influence the healing at all because my beliefs are energy and I'm feeding my energy into your healing session or my client's healing session, just like they're feeding energy into it. And they may have beliefs of their own where they're not sure if they're totally believing that healing is possible. I totally believe that everything can be healed. I don't know, call me born that way, I guess, because it was my purpose on this planet. But I've always believed in healing, that we have the ability to heal ourselves from absolutely everything. But I didn't want to obviously be holding any beliefs for any sickness and disease and have my energy then feed into a healing session and affect my client's healing. Again, because it's all energy. So it was great getting to the root belief, And it kind of goes along with this whole topic of what I wanted to talk about tonight is finding peace or keeping your peace in a world full of fear, in the midst of fear. Because what I discovered when it's called digging. In theta healing, you do something called digging. So it's digging for the bottom belief. Like, why do I have such a fear of lymphoma? Like, what's underneath that? And it's usually totally different than what you think it is. I mean, it really can go way off in left field. And you're like, where did that come from? How in the world am I believing? Like, it doesn't even seem related to the original thing. So, like, here it was, I muscle tested positive for I fear lymphoma, not fearing that I would get lymphoma, but fearing lymphoma, that it's deadly, that if you get it, you're a goner, that type of thing. So, when I muscle tested and showed that, yes, I was holding that belief, and it turns out I muscle tested that I was holding that belief from this lifetime because of things I had heard in this lifetime. So we do something called digging. So it's really going underneath that belief and saying, what is the first instance you remember fearing lymphoma? And again, it was just from repeatedly hearing in this lifetime. It keep cutting in and out on the feed. Guys, I'm so sorry if my internet's crappy. I'm also live on Instagram. If you're on TikTok, I'm also live on Instagram under Woke Lightworker. I'm also live on YouTube under Woke Lightworker. So you guys can find me if the feed is not good, maybe on TikTok or on one of these. You can find me on because I got 3 cameras going on me right now. I've got TikTok going, I've got Instagram going, and I've got YouTube going. And so you can always watch the replay also on YouTube. So it'll be up on my lives. As soon as this ends, they put it right up on my lives. So you guys can watch it there. So I apologize if the feed is bad. I pay for the highest internet here, and it's just really awful sometimes. I don't know why. I'm kind of like in a dip or a valley, or I don't know. But where was I going? Oh, so it turns out that the underlying belief that I had underneath fearing lymphoma was I was really angry about the dark agenda on the planet. And thinking about, like, they're spraying our skies constantly with chemtrails. I mean, I walked outside today. It was gorgeous. I live in Virginia. I walked outside and it was gorgeous. And there was not a chemtrail in the sky. And I was like, wow, they let us have blue skies today. I mean, that's just pathetic when you have to say they let us have blue skies. I mean, that's crazy, right? So I can get really, really angry when I go outside and I see, especially a few days ago when I heard the Schumann resonance was spiking. There was supposed to be some major energies coming from the sun. I don't know if this was like 3 or 4 days ago. Today is April 18, 2023. And I went outside, and this is before I knew about the spike in the Schumann resonance. And oh, the connection's much better on Instagram, said someone on TikTok. So come over to Instagram if you need to, Woke Light Worker, and find me there, or on YouTube. But so I walked outside like 3-4 days ago, and I was like, it in the sky, it was like, it felt like, it looked like it was like 2 layers or 3 layers thick of chemtrails. And I just got really angry. I was just like, those effers, you know what I mean? I was just like angry that why are they doing, like, why do they have to constantly do this? It just is like in my face all the time, it seems like, about the dark agenda. And I was just like really frustrated about it, and then the food, and then I'm seeing videos on TikTok about, I don't want to put any, fear in anybody's heads, but it's about, the food stuff going on and injecting wild animals with, vaccines and like all this crazy stuff. Like, if it wasn't bad enough, and they just continue, and it just goes on and on and on, it seems like. And so again, when I was digging into this belief of I fear lymphoma, I have a fear of lymphoma, again, not for me, but what was underneath that, it turns out it was my fear and anger about the dark agenda. And it was mostly my anger about the dark agenda on planet Earth. And then I was digging below that even to see, well, why does that bother me? What is it about the dark agenda that bothers me? It's like, well, because I could die, right? I mean, that's kind of a belief that goes below even that. Like, why do you fear the dark agenda? And then it's like, well, what's so bad about dying? Because this is called digging, when you really dig into it to figure out what's going on. What's so bad about dying? And it was like, well, I feel like I've been abandoned by the universe, because here I am, like, trying to work for the light and spread light and teach and do these higher self hypnosis sessions and help everyone learn how to connect to their higher self and be their higher self. And then, here we're just like killed off and poisoned by all this stuff in the sky and in our food. And it was just really frustrating for me, like really made me angry. But then really what was below it was a feeling of being abandoned by Creator, by the universe, of the universe not having my back. And so you go from here, from this original belief that I muscle tested positive for, of I have a fear of lymphoma, again, just in general, not for myself, but in general. And you find out the underlying belief is, when you dig down into it, is a fear of being abandoned by Creator, not supported by Creator. And so it's really wild how you can start with what you think is a belief going on in your mind, this belief, but it really goes down into something much, much deeper and like sometimes seems totally off topic. So then I was thinking about, the dark agenda on Earth. And then my spirit team just started, just talking to me about it. Cause I was like, help me just see it from a different perspective. All this fear and just being inundated with fear and, the money crash and banks failing and hyperinflation and the food being poisoned and wild animals even being injected with, crazy chemicals and vaccines. And so you go to hunt something and it's not even pure. And I mean, just all this darkness. And I mean, I'll just tell you that I'll just start naming the things that my spirit team was telling me. They were just telling me about, again, this is all a stage, right? It's all a stage. I agreed to come down here. I knew this is not a surprise to my soul. This is not a surprise to any of our souls. We came down here for such a time as this. That's a scripture right there, right? For such a time as this. Like, we knew what was going to be happening. We knew what was going on. I mean, if you read Dolores Cannon's book, or if you know anything about it, The 3 Waves of Volunteers and the New Earth, she talks about how Earth sent out a call to all these other planets asking for help, because Mother Earth the planet Earth is on a timeline of ascension. And she's going to ascend, and she doesn't want to shake off all life off of her, like a bad case of fleas, just shake it all off and literally destroy everyone and everything. But if it comes down to it, and that's what it takes for ascension, I mean, Mother Earth will, because there's a timeline that has to be followed for her ascension. And so there's a lot of us that heard the call. And there's the first generation, there's the second generation, the third wave, first wave, second wave, third wave. And the third wave are, hi, Husky Kimberly, thank you for the roses on TikTok. The third wave are the younger generations coming in. I guess some people call them rainbow children or indigo children, whatever the name. But there's a lot of us who came in because the darkness has just gotten, this is again coming from my team, my spirit team, when I was talking about all this. Sorry guys, it paused on my phone because my son's beeping in. It's gotten darker because the end of the darkness is coming. Like I said, Mother Earth is on a timeline and the ascension is going to happen. And so the darkness knows it's coming to an end. And so just like any animal that you're going to corner and you're trying to harm it or kill it or capture it, it's going to lash out and it's going to fight back. And so that's what's happening with the darkness right now, right? There's a grid around planet Earth, and so many people have told me that they've actually seen the crystalline grid around planet Earth. And so we have the old grid and we have the new grid, and the old grid is what you would call the 3D matrix. And it's just, if they keep us in fear, they, meaning the dark agenda, the beings that want darkness on the planet, then they can keep us tethered to the 3D matrix. If they can't keep us tethered in fear, then we can ascend, we can grow, we can heal, we can raise our vibration, our frequency, and then we can be hooked in, linked into the new Earth grid. And then if too many of us are linked into the new Earth grid, that's the ascension of the planet. We help the planet ascend, and then the darkness can't be here. It's too high of a frequency. So then they have to leave the planet. And you know what's really interesting, you guys? So I just started listening to the audiobook of Dolores Cannon's newest book that her daughter and I guess their team put out, that Dolores was working on at the time she died. And I can't pull it up right now because I'd have to get off the screen, but it's something about sacred knowledge. You can look it up on Audible or on Amazon, but it's about sacred knowledge. It's her newest book. It was released after she died, of course. It was just recently released, but it was really interesting. 2 stories in there were really interesting, and they go hand in hand with what I have been told by people's higher selves in my higher self hypnosis session. So it's actually the very first story in this book. It was fascinating. This woman was seeing another life that she lived. And you know, in those Egyptian paintings and drawings that you see those people, those beings with like the bird faces, almost like a blue bird beak, like the bird faces. I always thought they looked really cool. I was like, oh, I wonder if those are like, because I know that there were a lot of aliens, you know, off-planet beings living with the Egyptians, living in those times. And so I thought, oh, I wonder if those are like blue avian beings or something like that. I just never knew what they were. I just thought, oh, they look so cool, right? Like you see these Egyptian art and paintings and they just look so cool. So anyway, so this woman in this other life, she just started talking about them and describing them. Again, the first story in Dolores Cannon's newest book, Sacred Knowledge or something like that. It's a longer name, but apparently, without using the word, reptilians literally described reptilians, that they're not robots. They're not, she said they're robots, but not robots. They're not human. They're not like, they don't really have a soul. This is going from memory in the book again, so don't quote me on any of this, but really literally described the same thing that I have heard in my higher self hypnosis sessions when they describe reptilians, and then how they, you know, have this agenda and they really are not positive. They have a dark agenda and all this. So read her book or listen to her book. It's really fascinating. And that they're basically like a shell. They're not human. And so that's what I get told about the reptilians. So the reptilians are the ones, and I've heard this in all kinds of my higher self hypnosis sessions too. The reptilians are the ones who destroyed Mars. They're the ones who destroyed Mars. And it was kind of the same thing. The planet was getting more and more higher frequency, and they literally just destroyed it. So what my spirit team was telling me, last night I was swimming laps at the pool, and I was just kind of thinking about this stuff. And they're like, you know, a lot of you who are here as light workers, even if you're just living, not necessarily working in a career where you would consider yourself to be a healer or a spiritual healer or a light worker, you're still a light walker, right? Because you're here to walk in the light. And so we got to get on with the task of walking in the light. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But A lot of us are from Mars. Like we have had one or more lives on Mars, and we love Mars. We loved Mars, and we were devastated that Mars was destroyed. And we answered the call to come to planet Earth for such a time as this to try and prevent the same thing from happening to Earth that happened to Mars. And so a lot of us have like this desire in our soul to help stop that and prevent that, which that can impact us and get us really upset and angry on a level that we don't consciously understand. We can get really upset and angry that we're seeing the same pattern happening on Earth that was happening on Mars. Thank you, Lang's Mama on TikTok, for the rose. So we can get really angry and upset that that's happening because, and I'll tell you guys something, little bunny trail. This was probably about 6 years ago. I was sitting at my desk and I was just kind of studying, doing some spiritual studying, just kind of researching some stuff and learning and taking some notes and listening to some teaching by this incredible teacher named Bentinho Massaro, Bentinho, Bentinho Massaro. And all of a sudden, like in the middle of sitting here taking notes and kind of listening to his teaching, I didn't even know there was a name for it, but it's called spontaneous past life regression or past life memory. And I literally saw myself standing on Mars after it had been destroyed. Everything was gone. It had been destroyed. And I literally was standing there, just like I was literally really standing there. I felt like I was standing there, and I looked around and it was just red dust and clay, like this red clay dust. And even in the air, and even the air was red, and I was just standing there and I was bawling. And the words that kept coming up in my mind were, my beloved Mars has been destroyed. My beloved Mars is destroyed. And I was just devastated, distraught, and so sad. And I was like, what the heck did just happen? Like that had never happened to me before. I was like, that was so weird. I didn't even tell anyone about that for years because I was like, I don't even know what just happened. That was weird. But I know that I was just having that memory of being on Mars and seeing that. I don't know if I went there right then or if it was a memory of me being there, before I came to Earth, or like my soul was traveling, and I don't know what happened. But I was there and I was devastated that Mars had died. And I've had sessions with other higher self-hypnosis sessions with clients who knew me from Mars. And so Mars, somebody asked what was Mars before. Mars was a very, I'll tell you a little story about that. It was very technologically advanced planet. And the people really lived in a lot of love, and they had a high frequency, but the reptilians were there. And of course, they didn't want that. They wanted control. And it's kind of like a narcissist. The perfect example. It's like a narcissist. If you've ever been in a relationship with a narcissist, if they can't have you, they don't want anybody to have you. So they will make your life hell and put you through all kinds of torture and torment and tear you down and get you in fear. And no one's ever going to want you. No one's ever going to love you. I'm the best you're ever going to get. You're lucky that you have me. And I mean, they tear you down, and they will try to completely destroy you, because if they can't have you and if you're going to leave, a lot of times people end up, their lives are in danger or they get killed by narcissists, because if they can't have you, they don't want anybody to have you. So it's kind of like that, where the reptilians were like, okay, if we can't control this planet, then we're just going to destroy it. And then they set up base on Earth, right? Well, they've been at Earth for a while, but anyway, so I find it interesting in Dolores Cannon's book, again, that newest book that she has released, this person under hypnosis was saying that the these beings never mentioned the word reptilian, but again, it sounded exactly like the description that I've gotten where the higher selves have used the word reptilians, where these beings are going to be sent off planet permanently from Earth no later than 2050. Okay. Woo! Okay, so if that's true, I mean timelines can change, right? Timelines can change, but she was pretty firm and sure in her hypnosis session that they were going to be gone by 2050. So isn't it interesting the big push with SpaceX and Elon Musk to hurry up and get to Mars? Isn't that interesting? Right? And they're hyping it up like, oh, it's going to be so cool. The people, the pioneers, they're going to be able to go to Mars once life is established. It's going to be so cool. Yeah, well, I have had higher self-hypnosis sessions where let's just say it's all part of the agenda to get people to Mars to restart another, because these reptilians need another planet. Because if they're going to be kicked off Earth, shaken off like a bunch of fleas, then they've got to have someplace else to go, because they literally destroy every planet they've ever been on. They literally destroy the planets. And that's their goal with Earth too. If they can't control it, if they can't conquer it, that's why the huge influx of fear and the dark agenda, then they don't want anyone to have it. But getting them to Mars, but I've also heard that, you know, while people might be super excited, like, yeah, let's go to Mars, it's just the beginning of another slave planet. And it's a one-way trip. It's going to be a one-way trip. So I'm definitely not interested in going to start all this all over again and be part of the race that starts life on Mars again, if they get it to that point. I mean, who knows, right? But yeah, it's going to be a one-way ticket, and that's going to be the slave labor, quote unquote, that is going to be reestablishing or trying to reestablish life on Mars. Will they be successful? Who knows? I don't know. You know, I think we'll see it in our lifetime for sure. I mean, there's a really big push for it right now. But I've also been told, and you can agree with this, you cannot agree with it. You guys are free to believe anything you want. You're free to believe the best. You're free to believe, you know, ever. I'm like ourselves. Musk kind of, you know, he comes across as this freedom fighter and freedom of speech and all of that. But I have always felt, and it's been told to me under hypnosis, that he really is just kind of a wolf in sheep's clothing. And that he's been given the wealth and abundance and the technology and the wisdom for creating all these different things and being able to do SpaceX and the resources and all from it, because he's been given these things from the darker side, the dark agenda, right? And how do you get people following you? And how do you get people excited for your mission? And yeah, take me to Mars. He's a good guy. I can trust him. And, you know, he's not going to, you know, have us go to Mars and kill us all there or anything like that. I mean, you got to like the guy, or you're not going to travel to another planet, right? I mean, you got to be likable. You got to be liked. So, I mean, I don't trust him. I mean, that's fine. Anybody can believe what they want. Totally fine. But there's always more than what you see. There's always way more than what's on the surface. And it's really, again, going back to what my spirit team was telling me, there's just this on planet Earth, we've come here to learn duality. So duality is opposite extremes for everything. And then our job here, our goal as a soul, is to find balance and peace and to focus on what we came here for individually, and to not be caught up in all of the distractions of the dark agenda. Because if we fall into fear, then we feed into that fear, which is a low frequency. And if we're feeding into the low frequency, then we're adding our low frequency energy to the already low frequency energy. So what you think about, you bring about. What you focus on expands. So if you're focusing on the dark agenda, if you're focusing on the fear, if you're focusing on, F them for spraying the sky with chemtrails, like I've said many times when I go out there, I'm like, those effers, for spraying my sky again, right? It's raising the frequency instead of anger, fear, all of that, feeding into it. Because there's the collective consciousness, and the dark agenda is to have as much fear and low frequency energy in the collective, because that keeps people trapped and linked into the old earth grid, the 3D matrix, without being able to then move into the new earth grid, the crystalline grid, the higher frequency, the ascension, the higher frequency, because we really get to determine what happens on this planet. There's many timelines playing out, many timelines. There's going to be timelines where the earth is completely destroyed. There's going to be timelines where the earth ascends and all of the dark agenda is over. And yes, the reptilians, the slave race aliens are kicked off the planet once and for all with the help of, our friends from other planets, the Galactic Federation and others, right? And the light workers, light walkers who are here. So there's all kinds of timelines playing out, but it's like, which timeline do we want to be part of? And we individually get to choose that with our thoughts, with every thought we think, with our actions, with our beliefs. And so when we focus on what they're doing out there instead of what's going on in here, and how am I reacting, and what kind of energy am I focusing on and having in me and then exuding outwards, that is not only feeding into the collective consciousness and either adding high frequency energy or adding low frequency energy, thereby perpetuating it. We get to help determine, and it's a lot of us, right? Collectively, we get to help determine which timeline we're going to be witnessing. So it's not a small thing. And that's what I was walking my dog and his soulmate tonight, the two huskies. I was walking them tonight right before I came on live, and my spirit team was telling me, and I was like, help me, just talk to me a little bit more before I go live. What kind of other things can I be sharing? And they were like, just let people know that it's not a small thing, how you feel and how you think about what's going on in the world. It's actually really, really critical and important, because it determines the direction that the entire planet takes. And yeah, you look at people around you and they're stuck in fear, but it's not looking at them. It's, what are you doing? We have to take individual responsibility for what am I doing? I don't care. It's like those horses, if you go to parades and you see those horses and they have those blinders on the side so they can't get distracted by, people on the sidelines watching them prance down the street, amidst all the activity. They have those blinders on. Like, that's how we need to do, like almost put our spiritual blinders on so we can just focus straight ahead. And my spirit team was saying, just focus on being your light. That is the most important thing that we can do, is focus on being the light. Because we all, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this as a replay, any of this, you came here to be a light walker. Okay? Even if you're not what you would consider to be a light worker, you're all light walkers. And you're walking in the light. If you choose to walk in the light, anybody can say poo-poo to their plan, their soul plan. Their soul plan is, you came here to be a light walker or a light worker, light warrior, whatever you want to call it, whatever you consider yourself to be. And you can poo-poo that and just get caught up in worldly stuff and totally be attached to the old earth grid, the 3D matrix. But you can also make that choice to focus on just you and what's going on in you and your frequency and what are you focusing on, and be connected to the new earth grid and raise the vibration of the entire planet, because the dark has gotten darker. Like we said, I mean, there's been times in earth history, I mean, we read about it, even though a lot of history is false, but we read about it, that the dark agenda has been pretty dark. I mean, there were a lot of dark things that have happened on this planet. And so this is not the only time that darkness has occurred, but this is the time that it's occurring right now in our lifetime. And we have a lot of control of it individually, which adds up all of us individually, collectively. And there's a lot of darkness, but there's also a lot of light. And that's why we've come here. So if we can be focused on our mission and what we came here to do, and there's my girl stepping in here. Focused on what we came here to do, then we can make a huge impact. It's just like that Gandhi saying that everyone knows, be the change you wish to see in the world. It really does all start with us. So how do you keep your frequency high? How do you keep your frequency up? And it's all, I mean, the best thing you can do is literally just bringing your thoughts always to gratitude and what can you be grateful for. Every little thing, every little thing you can be grateful for. Like I said, today I was so grateful that I went outside and there were no chemtrails in the sky. And it was just this beautiful, gorgeous day. And there was a breeze and it was just gorgeous. I mean, this girl lives in the backyard. So it was beautiful. So grateful that I have a body that I get to move. Like, I was so grateful. So I got to swim yesterday. I did yoga for half an hour. I went for a walk for an hour and a half with my dogs. Like, just being able to do these things and do the work that I do. I mean,
You're not
anything.
locked in a cage. Like, you're not trapped anywhere. You're not mutated. And even if you are, still be grateful for that too. Be grateful for your deepest traumas, because they brought you to where you are now. And if you don't like where you are now, you can get to the highest point you can possibly imagine if you simply want to. So everything is worth being grateful for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, literally, like, I am so grateful, guys. I love kombucha. I love kombucha. I am so grateful for kombucha. You literally can find gratitude in every little moment. And, you know, even if you're lying in bed sick, even if you're lying in bed and you're just not having good things happening, what has seemed to be good things happening in your life, just find something. Reach for the next highest frequency thought that you can possibly find. Have you had anything good happen in your life? Do you have someone taking care of you? Do you have a place to live? Do you have, I mean, anything? Did you get food today? Just whatever you can do, just constantly, until it feels like you're being obnoxious with constantly saying, "Oh, I'm so grateful for this. I'm so grateful for this. Yes, I'm so thankful for this. I'm so thankful that I get to be here with you guys and talking about this and helping us all, because I'm talking to myself too when I'm saying all this, helping us all to remember to stay focused on being the light. Just go like those horses in that parade. Like I said, just don't worry about this distraction. Cut off all media. I'm not saying social media, limit your time tremendously on social media, because I hear that in everyone's higher self hypnosis sessions, or higher selves all say it. You've got to limit your time, and you've got to immediately scroll past anything that you think is not going to raise your frequency.
Yeah, if you're on it and even if you're choosing to be on it, if you're choosing to watch stuff that is simply bringing you down on any or all levels, why just step back and really force yourself into the thought, why do I actually really want to choose this for myself in this moment? Why am I choosing it? What is drawing me to it? And you won't come up with an answer. I don't know. I don't know. So just force your fingers, ask them to help you, just force yourself away from that stuff and to become true to you.
And I will tell you guys something when it comes to social media. Actually, it's all media. I see that that my beautiful, amazing friend Linda is on here, and she's on Instagram. I think it was in her session, and it's been in other sessions too, where I've been told by people's higher selves that social media in general, has energetic tentacles. Creepy, right? Literally energetic tentacles like parasites and bloodsuckers that literally come out energetically. They come out of the screens and attach themselves to you. They like hook into you, and they're designed that way. That's why you get on and you're just like, oh my gosh. I mean, I've been there. I do it. Okay. It's not just, I'm not pointing fingers at it. The biggest finger is pointing right back at me. Where it's like, oh my gosh, I literally just sat on here for the last hour and a half, 40 minutes. What the heck? Like you're just like mesmerized. It's literal tentacles that are coming out. So you want to shield yourself. Reminder to myself here too. Shield yourself before going on anything like that. Energetically shield yourself. And then also just really, even if it's setting an alarm or something, I mean, just really limiting ourselves, just not going on. I mean, you'd miss things like this or other, amazing teaching that helps you raise your frequency, raise your vibration to learn. So you want to be part of that. You want to do that, but it's really it's just the self-control and not letting those tentacles have an impact on you. And then clearing when you're done, really just clear. Thank you, Husky Kimberly on TikTok for the roses. Really just clearing your energetic space again. Really just cutting all cords and clearing your energetic space. If you guys want to see a video that I made on, I call it the 4 must do's every day. You can go to my YouTube channel under the live tab. There's a video called the 4 must do's every day. Or you can click on my bio on Instagram and TikTok, and the video, I think it's there. I'm pretty sure it's there. The 4 must do's every day. You can go to my YouTube channel anyway. But it's about clearing your energetic space, cutting cords. You want to do that after you're done with social media too, so you don't have those tentacles still stuck in you. But I don't know where I was going on that. Oh, Linda said, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. Educate. I only tried to interact, Mahubo Fabulous. I only try to interact with educational content. Yeah. So it's really just controlling what you're watching. I mean, it makes you feel good and it brings you joy to watch those amazing animal videos where the animals are so cute and they're like puppies playing and things like that. But another example of lowering your energetic frequency is watching stories on social media about abused animals. And I've talked about this before on social media because higher selves have brought it up, that unless what it does is it makes you feel sad. And yes, that stuff happens. Yes, that stuff goes on.
But their souls have agreed.
But it's their soul journey, right? It's their soul journey, just like a human has difficult things that happen to them. It's their soul journey. But what it does is we're allowing ourselves to be brought into that low frequency energy of sadness and pain and suffering.
Yeah,
so what does
you're just adding on to it.
Exactly. We're adding to their pain, the energy, the collective energy of the animal's pain and suffering instead of helping to raise it. So it seems like if you're not really aware of that, it seems like that's not what you're doing. Oh, I'm feeling sorry. I'm empathizing with these animals, but you're actually feeding into the low frequency energy of that. So that kind of stuff, I literally just swipe right away past all that. But if it's like cute puppies running around and a puppy chasing a goat or playing with a duck and, stuff like that, like that raises your frequency. That brings you joy. That brings you laughter. I mean, I watch a couple good episodes of Friends with my daughter. I mean, if I want a good laugh, right? But doing things that bring you joy, that is another thing, is what can raise your frequencies. We talked about gratitude, finding anything and everything you can be grateful for, but then everything that brings you joy. Like every single higher self hypnosis session that I do with my clients, their higher self says you need to do things that bring you joy. That is going to help you find your purpose. It's going to keep you on your path, and it's going to help you also to be the light walker that you came here on this planet to be. Because if you're in joy, you're in that high frequency energy. And again, that high frequency energy is feeding out to the collective consciousness. So by you being in joy, by you being in gratitude, me being in joy, me being in gratitude, we're feeding more into the light. And that's another way that we can tip the scales, so to speak. Got this light dark balance, right? And if the dark is trying to make us think and look like it's way higher and way more prevalent than the light, and we can buy into that like it's an illusion. They're feeding us an illusion of this, but we can tend to buy into that, and then it lowers our frequency. That's why they want us to believe that the darkness is winning, that it's dark, it's getting darker, it's getting darker, it's getting darker. There's more pain and there's more trauma coming. There's more pain coming. But
and when you're on the other side of it, all you realize that you felt
don't knock that over.
I'm sorry, go ahead. All you realize that you felt the entire time was just the whole time, like it's just you're being sucked and dragged, and it's just the darkest feeling when you get completely on the other side of that. It completely is. And
if the screen is freezing, if the screen is freezing on TikTok, guys, I am so sorry. It's not doing that on YouTube, and it's not doing that on Instagram from what I understand. So you guys on TikTok, if you want to come find me at Woke Lightworker on either YouTube Live or Instagram Live, I heard it's not lagging there. So you guys can come find me on Instagram or YouTube Live. I'm going to have the replay of this also up on my YouTube channel. So you guys can go there if you missed anything, if you want to watch it again. But I'll have it up there under my live videos. Yeah, I hear you, Linda. But so gratitude and doing things that bring us joy, that's going to keep us in the highest frequency possible. But the big message really is that I kept getting from my spirit team was you just want to focus on your journey and your light. And we don't want to worry about what everyone else is doing and what's going on in the world at large. So it's taking the lesson that we all have on a small scale that not all of us have mastered yet. Okay. So we have not all mastered this yet. But the lesson we all have on an individual level is we need to mind our own business. We need to focus on our journey and not be concerned or worried, I should say worried, and trying to manage everyone else's journey and their dramas and their traumas, right? Not saying you don't love others, you don't help others. You can, okay? If it resonates with you, if that's what brings you joy, if that's what you want to do, if that's what you feel you really need to do because that's what you want to do, not because someone else is guilting you into it or anything else, right? But when it becomes a problem is when we take on someone else's dramas and traumas, or we're trying to manage their life and tell them how they should be living and getting frustrated that they're not living a particular way. That's not our business. We are not their spirit team. Their spirit team has got them. Their spirit team is behind them, just like yours is, guiding them and leading them. And there's not a 911 rush emergency that they get to whatever finish line you think they should be getting to in this lifetime. Because me, we are not the dictator of someone else's finish line. We are not the dictators of what someone else's journey should look like. We see people all around us with addiction, with all kinds of things, and we think, oh, I need to save them from addiction. I need to save them from destroying their life. Oh no, you just can't even imagine how many times I hear people's higher selves telling them about family members, friends, relatives, spouses. Oh, they are learning huge lessons through addiction. They are learning huge lessons. Like you just can't even imagine the kind of lessons they're learning. And so we're sitting here judging it from our ego perspective, which is insane and ridiculous. That we got to be judging everyone else's journey, that it's not how it should be. It's not the way it should go. It shouldn't look like that. It shouldn't be like that. That's not our job. We're not their spirit team. We're not their dictators. We got to let go and stop trying to control everyone else's life. And literally, like I said, just be like those horses in the parade. Just put those blinders on and just be focused straight ahead on being a light walker, walking in your light. Again, raising your frequency, walking in your light, not being distracted by what's going on in the world at large. Unless you are specifically called to do something about it, like I feel called to run for an office in politics, or I feel called to do this, or I feel like that's part of my purpose. This is my calling. Then yes, right? Then go for it. Do it. Do your purpose. But walking in the light and then feeding into that collective consciousness and helping to raise, because again, this is a planet of duality. You have light and you have dark, and we came here to experience it, and we came for such a time as this to experience what's going on in the planet right now. And we can help balance it, or we can let one side gets a little bit higher, but that's, again, like I said in the beginning, if you join me late, that's why Mother Earth sent out a call asking for volunteers to come here and help raise the vibration of the planet, because Mother Earth wants to detach from the old Earth grid, just be encompassed in this new Earth grid, this higher ascended Earth grid, crystalline grid that's around it. Coming into this live and getting slapped in the face with facts, said Christina. That's funny. What about dreaming of angels? Is that normal? It can be normal if you might have a very big connection with angels.
Dreams are never fake. They're always real, just in other parts of the dimensions.
Mm-hmm. Jennifer on YouTube said you need to do a TikTok on this about mind your own business. I have a friend that needs to hear it desperately.
She did.
I did. It's called Mind Your Own Business. It's out on TikTok. And I think it's on Instagram too. It's called Mind Your Own Business.
I was telling myself, I was like saying it in your tone and like saying it to myself earlier, and I was just like, she's so funny.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I like what Pyra, she said, I've been brought back to my joy, which is singing and songwriting, writing in general, but music is my joy. Yeah. Yeah. And then she said, my old priest once told me to love from afar. I didn't understand what he meant until spirituality, right? So yeah, it's not our place to walk anyone else's journey for them. We came here, we got enough on our plate just focusing on our own stuff and our own journey. We don't need to be trying to take on anyone else's and getting in their business, because there's only two times, I know I've said this before, but there's only two ways that we can impact anyone else's journey. And I've heard this many times from people's higher selves, but the first one is just by being an example. Again, being a light walker, because that is a big impact. I mean, it's a really big impact on other people. I mean, I have 3 children, my little girl here, my baby, and my older boys who are spiritually awake. And they're awake because they saw mom, me, I'm the mom. They saw mom walking the walk. And they saw mom teaching others and just walking and being a light. And so, I mean, it's amazing. And it was just me being me. So that's the first way that you can impact people in their lives. And the other way is if someone comes to you and asks for help and they really, truly, genuine want help. Like, how can I be like you? Wow, I see these big changes in your life and I see all these things that you're doing now. It's amazing. Like, what have you been doing? And that's the other way, because then they're open and they're ready. And maybe you recommend a book. It's just like when I woke up spiritually, and I was a Christian before that. I mean, if you didn't know Jesus, if you didn't have Jesus in your heart, you are going to hell. And that's it. So I was working with this woman named Victoria, and I just kept seeing her being such a light all the time in the office. I mean, she would even do free lunch and learns for people on meditation and just all kinds of just positive things. And every time she would talk, and she was always talking in meetings, every time she talked, everything was just so wise and so full of love and light. And I was just like, wow, just watching her, just amazed. And one day she walked by my desk and I said, Victoria, what can I do to learn more of what you know? So there she was, being herself, being her light, and being an example. And I saw, careful, and I saw that, okay, girl's coming to sit on my lap. Um, and, and this is my daughter, everyone, Cherish. Um, so she was just being herself, being an example, just walking in the light. And then I asked her, and this is the book in case anybody's interested. I know I've mentioned it many times before, but it's an amazing book, and it's by Mary Ann Williamson, who's actually trying to run in the next presidential election. She tried to run in the last one also, or was it the one before that? It was the one before that. Right? Wasn't it?
No, it was the one against Biden, right?
No. Was it?
Was it?
I can't remember.
So.
Anyway, maybe it's this one and the last one, or the one before that. I can't remember. It's whenever we were in LA. But her book is called her book is called no, I can't.
You can.
No.
See it. You can see it this way.
Cherish.
This way you can. This way you can. Look. See? See? It's good.
Okay.
See? It's good.
Okay. The book is called A Return to Love by Mary Ann Williamson. So that's the name of the book in case you're interested in it. It is an incredible, incredible book. And it was the first book that I read on my spiritual journey. So I always go back and recommend that too. But again, it's just being your light. And otherwise, it's hands off. It's not our journey to manage. They've got a team. There is no finish line. It is a journey. There's not a rush. We all go through a lot of lives where we experience duality to its fullest. We want to go deep into the darkness. We want to go deep into the depression. We want to go deep into the addiction. We want to go deep into abuse, being a victim, being an aggressor. Believe it or not, ego doesn't want to think that we've ever done that. Ooh, not me. That's ridiculous. But if you want to believe that, you can go ahead and believe that. It doesn't mean that it's true. Yeah. But we've all been aggressors, quite serious aggressors in many instances. But our ego mind doesn't remember those things, because imagine if we didn't come through something called the veil of forgetfulness when we came back to planet Earth each time. It would be impossible to function on this planet, because we tend to incarnate with the same group of souls a lot in a lot of our earthly incarnations. And imagine, and we play all kinds of roles. So the person you are married to now or partnered with could have been the same person who literally murdered you in your last earthly life. Could you imagine trying to come here and learn the lessons and play the role of husband and wife if you had full remembrance of how brutally they murdered you in the last life? I mean, you couldn't.
Or if you had the complete opposite of duality of a soul and remember all of it in between and not be able to learn the lessons that well because you're already, you know, you already know everything. You're like, what do I need to learn?
Yeah.
So you need to have a good balance and a good amount of complete amnesia.
Yeah.
I
mean, there are some people who come here and remember
Yeah.
a lot of their other lives, but it's not the norm. And those people don't let it affect them. And I think that's
Yeah, and it
why
has
they're
to be
allowed to
limited.
remember it. And it's limited, right?
Very
So,
much.
I mean, so anyway, and then I had a question. How can we help others and family when they're struggling, but at the same time not getting too deeply involved? So again, it just goes
Very
back to what I
complex.
said. It's if you feel led to help them, with money or time or whatever, go. But you got to have your boundaries, and it's got to
trust yourself. Just in every situation with your boundaries, when to have boundaries, how to have boundaries, what exact way, like in every situation, just trust yourself. And as she always says, like put yourself first and your peace first. So if it starts to get to the point where they're not trying to help themselves and you are putting in and putting in, they're not putting in any back, and you're just kind of just draining yourself and they're just letting you, that's a point where you should think, do I want to respect myself or do I want to kill myself?
Or kill myself.
I mean, that's what you're kind of doing. You're
Right,
just letting
right.
yourself suffer for someone who doesn't care, doesn't respect you, doesn't respect
Right.
themselves.
Well, that would be
And who's gonna
like a
learn?
psychic vampire. So it's, are they truly wanting help so they can get out of the situation? I guess that's for you to discern. But if they're not, if they're just in victim mode,
They're learning
that is a lesson for them, is how to not be in victim mode. Because a lot of people come here and they have to learn the lesson that they're not a victim. I made a TikTok on this and Instagram on this. It's on YouTube. Woo, got a lot of backlash on that one. But I don't take any of it back because I hear this all the time from higher selves. And it's the ego mind, again, that's like, no, there are victims. No, there aren't. There are not victims. When you are an adult, you are not a victim. No one is making that person stay in their life situation. Sure, could it be hard? Guys, I can speak from personal experience. My first husband was a narcissist. I chose to stay with him. I had no idea how I would get out financially. I knew he'd make my life absolute hell if I left him. Okay, so thank you so much. Arise from, and the name is cut off for all the roses though on TikTok. Thank you. I knew it would be hell to get away from him and that he would make my life miserable. And I was determined not to let. Thank you again at Go for the roses on TikTok. I was determined not to let my children have a single parent household. I was like, no way, because I was devastated by not having my dad there growing up. And so I was not going to let that happen to my children. But I made a choice every day to stay. And I stayed and I stayed and I stayed. And he would kick me out. And he would go, we'd get in a fight. And he would do crazy, crazy things, always crazy things, like crazy things. Like I worked a professional job at the time, and he knew, because he couldn't keep a job because he was lazy. And anyway, but he would go upstairs and take his scissors and cut all the buttons off all of my suit jackets and my dresses so that I would have nothing to wear the next day, knowing it would completely freak me out. And then I'd be sitting there trying to sew buttons on all night. Like it was crazy, like crazy things. If you guys have been with a narcissist, you know what I'm talking about. They will do insane things. But I'm not a victim. I was not a victim. No one is a victim. Now, would it have been easy for me to leave? I could have found somewhere to go. I could have found some friend, even if I had to go to a shelter. Even if I had to go to my pastor at church, I could have done something, but I didn't. So I wasn't a victim.
But if you did leave, then you wouldn't have had us, because that wouldn't have happened.
Well, you never know. I mean, I could something
Everything
else,
happened
but
for a reason.
everything happened
So
for.
you
I
don't-
was resolving karma. Okay, guys, I was resolving karma. So
I'm just
I'm
letting
just
it play out how
saying,
we planned,
I'm
you know?
just saying that we're not a victim.
Mhm.
Okay. And so, yes, did something very, very traumatic happen? Yes, you guys, a lot of you know my story. He ended up killing my 5-month-old daughter, our 5-month-old daughter, after he kicked me out of the house one night. Right? I mean, but I made a choice every day. I made a choice that night not to call the police. I made a choice to drive to my sister's and make a plan to leave him the next day. Would I have? In my mind, I said I was going to, but I don't know it. It got to the next day and I got the news that my daughter was dead. So, and she'd be 26 this summer. She'd be 26 years old. So, it's all choices. It's all choices. I'm not a victim. I'm not a victim. She knew before she came here that's the role she was playing. She knew that was the role she was playing. I've talked to her post, leaving Earth, I mean, now that she's on the other side, I've talked to her. She knew that was her role.
And you did too.
Right? And now I do.
Too, we all did.
Right?
So that's why you don't blame yourself for choices you make either, because even though it doesn't seem like it, they could be planned. And even if they're not, even if you still just stray away because it's like really hard to stay on it, you still don't ever blame yourself. Even though you're not a victim, you don't blame. You just accept that it happened, take accountability, and do best you can to learn within for your future, for you, and therefore for others.
Yeah. So it's
you're both so spot on. Thank you for sharing. Well, we're everything, like I said, everything is connected. So every one of you here is here for a reason, and we're saying everything we need to for both of you, even if we're not aware of it. Because tonight I had an emotional past hour outside, outside and inside with them, and going over just situations of my past that are related to this exact subject. And I was like, why is this night just all about this? And then now we're talking about it. So it needed to, everything works out how it should.
Yeah, so Sarah said, I've been struggling seeing the amount of homelessness, addiction, and mental health issues. I work with women in an office, and it seems like many of them have mental health issues, feel depleting. And it's just, again, we've just come, it's the soul journey, and we have come here to experience so many things. And again, our ego has such a hard time understanding this. We can't wrap our head, our human mind around the fact that we come here to experience duality. And duality is the light and the dark. It's the what we call the good and the bad. It's the right versus wrong. And to experience duality, you have to have a perpetrator and you have to have a quote unquote victim. And that's just, we come here playing different roles. Like I said, you might be married to someone or in a relationship with someone who murdered you brutally in a past life. But yet you're here and you're fine. And you're like in this great happy marriage now. It's just,
or the opposite.
They're all roles, right? Or the opposite. Yeah.
We see it as suffering, but truly you just always have to remind yourself, if you see someone suffering, if you see someone being the perpetrator, just imagine their souls just being happy with it, being in acceptance of it. And
acceptance.
Yes, acceptance and knowing the truth about it. You don't know the truth, and just remind yourself, I have no idea what is planned behind this situation. I have no idea what is meant to happen, what will come of this. I only see what is of my forgotten mind now, of these bodies, and I have no place to control it, to save people, because there's no saving. It's all a choice. And even though it's really hard to want to save people, if they're not doing it for themselves, then you have no power over them, and you have to choose yourself to have power over you. And and not a situation you can't control or you don't know about on an ego level of soul level.
How do we know what we're here to learn and experience or our life purpose? Just following your joy will get you there.
Following your life is how it, I mean, everyone's life is different. So your life is how it's meant to be, and it'll lead to where it's meant to be. So
but that's why a lot of people do like the higher, I mean, even if you listen to Dolores Cannon's session, she said, like in this, I told you guys in her most recent book that was just out recent, it was very recent. It was, published after she died. She was working on it when she died. Like she said in that book, and I will attest to that, the number one question everyone asks is, what is my purpose? What did I come here for? And you always get an answer in these sessions. And sometimes, not everyone, but sometimes the purpose, I don't know why you did that.
Because it's like it's cutting off my face. I'll fix it. Can you just talk?
Sometimes our purpose is to just have our human journey, our life journey. And that's literally the purpose that we came here for. Sometimes it's to be a light worker and to help, be a healer. And I mean, it's really different for everyone. If you don't feel like you know what it is, you can always ask in like a higher self hypnosis session. You can just follow, you can take the longer path like I did, of just following your joy and just constantly following your joy, whatever brings you the most joy, just follow that. Oh, this class looks fun and this looks interesting and this looks fun and this looks interesting. And it'll eventually lead you on your path. And it doesn't bring me joy to stay in this relationship anymore. And this doesn't bring me joy. And this doesn't bring me joy, but really sings to your soul. What makes your heart sing?
All levels, like what feels healthy and open, the most open and free and just highest to you at all times. Like if it doesn't feel like that, but you're like, oh yeah, no, I'm happy just because you're familiar with it and it's what's safe and what you know, and you're afraid to get out of it and actually find what's truly freeing for you and happy for you in this lifetime, then that's not it. But you can recognize the difference if you really want to.
Okay. So, so that's how you can get to know what your purpose is. But that takes a little bit longer because you're just following. But yeah, everyone, even in Dolores sessions, everyone wants to know what their purpose is. And of course, it's different for everyone. But if you're listening to this and if you're on a spiritual journey, your number one purpose is to be a light walker. And from there, you can see, is there anything else? Is there anything more? But it's the big thing, too, is, again, being in gratitude, being in your joy so that you can help. Thank you so much, A Speech for the Rose. You can bring up the vibration of the whole planet. And again, we're in this game of duality, the light and the dark agenda going on, the fear.
But they're all just experiences and lessons.
Right. But I'm saying we can help bring the light up. And that's why we're here. That's why we're here. That's one of the big reasons that we're here, is to bring more light into the planet, to help with the ascension of the planet. And again, I recommend Dolores Cannon's book, The 3 Waves of Volunteers and the New Earth, talking about that call that went out for the volunteers to come here to help raise the vibration of planet Earth. So let's see. My gratitude now is finally clocking out of work. That's funny. What do higher self say about people who commit suicide? Well, this is pretty off topic because we're talking about fear today, but I'll answer that.
Yeah. You can have fear in another lifetime from committing suicide.
Well, it's sometime. Ow, you're really pressing on my arm here. That's hurting. It's usually always a possibility that they would do that it would be too overwhelming for them, especially if they decided to take on too much in a lifetime, that they knew it could possibly be something that they would do or something that could happen. And so everyone who goes in that life with them knows that that's a possibility of happening. But just if you know, Robert Schwartz has a really good book, and I think can't remember if it was in his first book or his second book, but there's called Your Soul's Plan and then Your Soul's Gift. And so I can't remember which one it was in, if it was in Your Soul's Plan or Your Soul's Gift by Robert Schwartz. Amazing books. Great on Audible, by the way. It was all kinds of hypnosis sessions of life in between lives. And I've heard this same thing too, that a lot of people have survivor's guilt, like, wow, I should have seen it. I should have done more. I should have known they were in that depressed situation. I could have done something to save them. But the answer is, if there was anything that anyone could have done to stop them from committing suicide, it would have happened. But it didn't. So if there's anything that could have been done, it would have been done. That was their free will choice. Their soul chose that. And it's literally a reset button. It's too much. They can't handle it. And in that newest book, going back to Dolores Cannon, in her newest book, again, I forget the name of it, guys. I'm so sorry. But in her newest one that was published post her death, talked about this one woman in there who did end up committing suicide. And it was a reset button. You're literally just hitting. Thank you so much for the roses, Mahuba. I think I pronounced it right. It's literally just a reset button, guys. You're just hitting the reset button because it's like, yep, need to check out. Thank you, Husky Kimberly. Need to check out and start all over again. Like, this is not going the way I want it to. It's not going the way I planned. Thank you guys for helping me hit my goal on TikTok of 50 roses. You guys are awesome. I love you guys. And so suicide is not a terrible, terrible thing. It can cause us a lot of grief for the people who are left behind, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it's not something that their soul won't be able to overcome. Of course, their soul is going to be able to overcome it, and they're learning a ton of lessons from having done that. Lessons probably about not giving up, about not taking on so much in the next lifetime, that it can be overwhelming if feeling for them like that. You're almost choking me. I'm glad you're comfortable while I'm so uncomfortable.
Are you?
Yes.
Well, get a bigger chair.
Super uncomfortable.
Well, get comfortable. Get comfortable. Get comfortable.
No, the Dolores Cannon book is not called Horned Goddess. It's called something else. It's I can't really look it up because I can't get to my keyboard now, guys. I'm so sorry. It's on my Audible. It's something about secret something. I don't know if anybody knows the name of it, if they can say it. Oh, you said your stepdad committed suicide. Yeah, his team has got him. And it was just too overwhelming. And he just hit the reset button. It's just like in a video game. I mean, if I get too many of my little guys in Pac-Man eaten, I just hit the reset button and start over because I'm like, yeah, that game sucked. And I just start over. And then I get to go another game and just start from the beginning with a little more thought and attention. And I'm kind of paying attention to everything around me the next round, which I wasn't before. I wasn't really that focused. And that's why it was going so awful for me. So I just hit the reset button. So it's really the same thing. So, bye, Linda. Have a great evening. Let me see. No, it's not Secret Garden. It's not that one either. Guys, it's not Secret Garden either. What is the name of that book? I don't know. I think I might freeze my screen if I go look for it here. If you can get up, I can get on my Audible or my Amazon site. I want to tell you guys the name of this book. So hold on. Let me look it up on my other computer to see if I can find that Dolores Cannon book that I keep talking about. It's her newest one. But the one is The Three Waves of Volunteers and the New Earth, that talks about how we came here to help raise the vibration of the planet. And then her other one, let me look it up, Dolores Cannon books. That one, The Horns of the Goddess. I have not read that one. Oh, here it is, guys. Here's the book I've been talking about all evening. The Search for Hidden Sacred Knowledge. The Search for Hidden Sacred Knowledge. That's the one I'm listening to right now on Audible. And the Robert Schwartz books are called Your Soul's Plan and Your Soul's gift. And I recommend those on Audible because they're really, really long, but they're amazing, incredible, amazing hypnosis stories about life in between lives. So you hear about someone's really difficult life, and then under hypnosis, they look at why did they choose these things? What happened with the suicide? Like, why did they choose these experiences and these traumas and these dramas and all the lessons that are in it? And so those are incredible, incredible books also. But yeah, thank you. I keep asking you not to do that because my bed is behind me and I really just don't want anybody looking at my messy bed. But anyway.
We're all unconditional love.
I have plenty of other places in the house I could do this, but yeah, I choose to do it in front of my bed. The Search for Hidden Sacred Knowledge is the Dolores Cannon book. So you can go ahead and take this off if you want. Yeah. So that's the book that I've been talking about. And the first story in there is, for me, in my opinion, is the best one. It's the best. Okay.
Wait, sit down. Okay, wait. Yeah.
Is the best one. So let me see. Now. Yeah, The Search for Hidden Sacred Knowledge. Is it true also that dark entities attached to the person's energy field has to do with committing suicide? It can be. Guys, it can be. I mean, you can have dark energies, dark entities. It can be that. It can be any kind of influence like that, for sure. 100%. It can totally be that. I know. Can we get another chair for my daughter? I know. I'm literally sitting on the edge of my chair. No, I'm literally. I can't.
You can.
No.
See, okay. Sit back.
I literally can't.
You're not on this. Come on, sit back more. Sit back more.
I can't. My butt is too big. Here we go.
Right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now she's sitting behind my chair. Okay. It was overwhelming. A lifetime of time dumped on you in one moment, then no time at all. I'm not sure. Let me see. Keepers of the Garden, Dolores Cannon. That's a really good book, guys. I think that was the first Dolores Cannon book that I listened to on Audible. And it's been years since I heard it, but I just remember it really impacted me. It was a really, really good book. Oh, wow. Nurse Heather Rose said I died in ayahuasca. That's wild because I had a client that I did a hypnosis session with and he died. Well, I don't know if you actually physically died in ayahuasca or if you felt like you died in ayahuasca because
ayahuasca brings you like old memories.
This is a wild story. This is totally different than the fear though, guys. So I'll just share a fun story with you. He saw his funeral when he was under the influence of ayahuasca. He saw his funeral and he had, I can't remember what color it was. I think it was a yellow tie in the casket. And he saw himself wearing this hideous, I think it was yellow tie in the casket. And like that stuck in his mind, in his memory. Like I was wearing this hideous yellow tie in the casket. And I died. And like, he was really convinced that he saw his funeral. Like, he's like, I know I saw my funeral. Mm-hmm. And this just goes onto things that will be mind blowing for the ego if you've never heard anything like this before. But when he was under hypnosis, his higher self said, you did die. You did die in that ayahuasca ceremony. You actually did die. But then, yeah, so you did die, but I don't know if you guys have seen, I've talked about this before, that movie where the girl comes back and she gets to relive the same day like 100 times until she makes different choices in the day and does different things. That it's like that. We actually can, it's almost like, okay, imagine, a slide projector. They have those individual slides. I don't know if you guys know. If you're younger, you might not know. But they have individual pictures where you get to there's different slides. And it's like a slide projector. And you get to click, 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 go to the next slide, go to the next slide, go to the next slide, go to the next slide. So it's almost like taking and jumping in. So his soul, he died. decided, you know what, I'm going to jump back in that timeline where he died, and I'm actually going to pull out that slide of where I died, and I'm going to put this new one in. And so he came back and he got to relive from that point forward, where in this time he didn't die, and he went on and he got to do other things and continue the life on. And it's wild, it's beyond my comprehension, but we can do that. We can kind of jump in and out of different parts of our life that we've lived and like redo them and relive them and then have a different outcome for them. So that's just kind of like, they talk about multiverses, and I mean, that just gets super complicated, but yeah. So I don't know if that's what you mean by the fact that you died in ayahuasca, if you had a situation like he did, but that was a pretty interesting session that he had when his higher self was talking about that. Yeah, Dr. Brian Weiss's books are really, really good too. Gratefully Caffeinated. I love your necklace. Thank you. Boot Barn. I love Boot Barn. My favorite store. So I got this shirt too. Love this little like kind of Western looking shirt here. But anyway, so I just want to wrap it up, guys, by talking again about the fear and just remind you, and especially if you came late, that the whole thing about fear, I keep falling off this chair. The whole thing about fear, again, is just staying in your light, just focusing on being light and not being distracted by the fear agenda, choosing not to participate in it. And if you find yourself getting into it, asking your spirit team, if you don't talk to your spirit team, if you want to have that kind of intuition and that guidance, start talking to them, even if you feel like you can't hear from them. When you heal, when you start talking to them, you'll start hearing from them, and they're always hearing you. Okay. And just trust and set the intention that you're going to start hearing from them. But it's ask them to help you out of that situation, out of that fear. Help me. What do I need to do? And then all of a sudden you'll find yourself maybe getting an idea. Oh yeah, I need to be in gratitude. Okay, let me focus on and let me name all these things and feel the emotion of all these things that you're grateful for.
Or you'll just start seeing images, or you'll start thinking about things, or you'll start moving. Like, it can come in any way, but just if it comes easily, think that's not ego. That's them. You know, if you ask, they're gonna come through. It's just only your doubt and your resistance and your ego and your familiarity of this world that's gonna stop you. And then try to make the second option seem like, no, this is it, after thinking a little bit. That's thinking is not truth. It's living is truth.
Yeah. So guys, if anybody is ever interested in joining me in any lives, I would actually, rather than sending me a request when I am live, because I've never personally touched base with you, I would really love it. I think it would be fun to have people join me on lives, but I want to make sure beforehand that we're on the same page when we talk about things, and that I'm not going to be surprised when I'm on a live, when I've got an agenda of what my spirit team has told me to share. And it's not just kind of going all in all kinds of different directions. So if anyone, I've had a person or two ask me if they could come on live on Instagram. I've had one or two people ask me now on TikTok. If you guys are interested in joining me live anytime, again, just reach out to me. You can email me, tracy@wokelightworker.com, and ask me, and then we can plan a time to go live after we have a conversation and we talk on a phone call or a FaceTime. And then we can kind of discuss what we'd like to do and make sure that we're on the same page first. Okay. So
any last questions?
But yeah, and so being in gratitude and being in your joy, and just asking your team to just help you be in your highest frequency. And if you have things in your life that you feel like, yeah, this relationship is no longer serving me. This job is no longer serving me. I'm miserable in this. I'm miserable with this partnership. I'm miserable with these friends. Whatever situation it is, remember, you're not a victim. Thank you, Husky Kimberly, for the roses on TikTok. You're not a victim. You're making the choice. It may seem impossible. It may seem really difficult to get out of those situations, but there is always a way. Okay?
Whether you're doing it to yourself and it just seems impossible to get away from, or someone else is doing it to you.
Right. So, like my mom taught me growing up, where there is a will, there is a way. Mm-hmm. And that was something that was just drilled into me growing up. And I'm telling you, there have been a lot of things in my life. Yes. There have been a lot of things in my life that I have wanted to do that I thought would be really impossible. But I had a will. And I absolutely found a way. When I really wanted something, I found a way. But if I really didn't want it, then I could look at myself as a victim. But so just ask your team for help, ask your team for guidance, and then just work on being your light, being the highest frequency that you can. Inundate your mind with as much teaching and healing. And if you got self-love. What are you going to do for yourself? What are you going to do for yourself to show yourself love? And again, there's that book called
What Can I Do in This Moment to Show Myself Love? Every moment that you catch yourself. What can I find about myself physically and internally? Every moment that I think of it, to find love in myself and to see love myself as complete love and just the greatest I can see.
And the book, I know I've mentioned this before, and people email me and tell me, wow, thank you so much for recommending this. It's called The Jeshua Channelings by Pamela Kribbe, Kribbe, Pamela Kribbe. The Jeshua Channelings, especially if you have a Christian background, there is a ton of healing you will get in this book. It's channeled by the soul who came and lived on earth as Jesus. He's a soul like every other soul. He had other lives. He wasn't just always Jesus, and that's it. And then they put him out to pasture, but he came down as Jesus. So it's an incredible story about who that soul really was and what he went through, with tons and tons and tons of healing in it. So healing yourself, that will help raise your energetic frequency. But just stay positive, guys. Stay away from the media. Don't fall into it. If you're around people who are talking about the fear and pushing the fear and promoting the fear, just excuse yourself away from it. Put a mental block in your mind from listening to them and be like, oh, that's part of their journey and what they're wanting to experience right now, really being in the duality of the desperation and the sadness and the fear about what's going on planet Earth, and making a conscious choice not to be part of that, not to participate in that, and just choosing something different. Because again, everything is a choice. Everything is a choice. So I hope that helps everybody. The book again, I just had Melissa ask, it's called The Jeshua Channelings by Pamela Kribbe. Her last name is K. Yeah, The Jeshua Channelings, plural. Pamela Kribbe, Kribbe. She is an incredible author. She's got amazing books out there. Very, very talented woman who channels Jeshua, Jesus. But you guys, thank you so much for being here. I hope this helps. I hope it can help us all. I was talking to me too this whole time, talking to me. I hope it can help us all to stay focused on the positive and not be in anger, not be in resentment about the dark agenda. Because again, this is all a stage. It's all a play. We're playing the role again. We're being in duality. We've chosen this on a soul level, even though our ego, our conscious mind is like, what the heck? Who would ever choose this? This is crazy. I would never choose this. You did. Either you or your spirit team on your behalf, or your spirit council, or even sometimes I see in my sessions, my higher self hypnosis sessions, creator chose that it would be good for you to experience this for your soul growth in your soul journey. And it's always for your best and highest good. Everything happens to you. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Everything happens for you and not to you. Okay? Everything is for you, for something.
Mm-hmm.
Always look for the benefit.
Any trauma, any lesson, any annoying anything, like anything that comes into your life is for you in some way, even if you can't see it. So that's how to stay positive as well. If you're like, well, I have this situation in my life, and then this situation, 1 or 5 or 10, it doesn't matter. See what it is for you. For what is this teaching me? What is this teaching me to be the opposite of?
Mm-hmm.
What is this teaching me to be for myself, for others? Just every positive.
Mm-hmm.
And opinion or religion, my answer, I don't know about her answer, but my personal answer is neither. It's experience.
Yeah.
It's truthful experience. And it's not a belief to me. This is my life. It's experience.
Yeah. So, and if you guys are interested in higher self-hypnosis sessions, just feel free to visit my website, wokelightworker.com. If you want to learn how to be more of your higher self and live as your higher self, I have a course on wokelightworker.com on my website that teaches you. It was a 6-week course that I taught on how to connect to your higher self, how to actually live as your higher self. That's high frequency in and of itself right there. You're not in the low frequency when you're living as your higher self. And I'm actually going to be starting writing a book very soon on how to be and live as your higher self also. So we'll see when that comes out. I'm going to try to write it sometime toward early fall. See how fast I can get that done and get that out. But I think that will help a lot of people. But again, you're so welcome, Claudia. Thank you for the thank yous, you guys. But feel free to visit my website, wokelightworker.com. I have a lot of great courses out there. Theta Healing for healing yourself. Some great classes coming up the end of April. But then in September, talk about healing, removing trauma. Oh my gosh. Theta Healing is the best. This little girl will testify to that. It's amazing. Amazing. There's nothing like it.
And continuing it is even better on your own.
Yeah. And then again, if you're interested in a higher self-hypnosis session where you can ask your higher self any and every question you have about your life, your purpose, how many lives you've had, how many times you've incarnated, how many times have you been on earth, what are some, why did you pick your mom? Why did you pick your dad? Why? What do you have to do to attract a certain kind of partner? I mean, just anything about healing trauma, pulling trapped emotions, downloading new beliefs. That is incredible when we do that. Downloading new beliefs, instilling creator's definition of self-love, self-worth. How can she have personal boundaries, like all these kinds of things. Yes, I am nearby. You're in Leesburg. Yep, I'm very close to you. Leesburg, Virginia.
How do we know if a situation is a result of free will decision or my soul plan? It's energy. You'll feel it, even if it's a chaotic or like tough situation that has its own fake friction. There's not any real friction behind it. Like, it'll just feel like you're kind of just stepping on the stepping stones and not being like and steering off the path that doesn't. It's just the subtleness of friction within you that you can become aware of in your everyday or big situations.
But we make different plans while we're on planet Earth, guys. So we might have, A, B, C, D, E, F, G planned on our soul path before we came here. But then other people make different decisions and different choices, which is kind of like, oh, I wasn't anticipating that. And so we make adjustments all the time when we're down here. We can make a free will decision to then go this way or go that way, which wasn't necessarily all part of the pre-birth plan. But yeah, you have free will. You can make anything you want, any choice you want via free will at any time.
It's just about whether it's your soul's free will, your ego's free will, or your persona and soul combined free will in a way, or persona and ego combined. But if there's any friction at all on a true level, you can become aware. When you become aware of it, you'll know. Like, just it just kind of doesn't feel completely easy and open. Not even 1 ounce of, no.
And with that, we're going to say goodnight, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Be the light. Don't forget that you are the light. Remind yourself that you're the light. Remind yourself to stay positive, to be the light, to feed the light into the collective for you, your family, your loved ones, and for the planet. I'm so glad that you guys are on the planet with me, with my daughter.
So grateful.
It's amazing. We're so grateful for all of you. And I hope to talk to you guys all soon. Bye.